So we're all starting laying flat on the floor today. Make sure you have some cushions nearby. So if you need them, you have them handy. I recommend to try to have 3 if you can. 2 smaller ones and a bigger one if possible. And we're gonna start with a body scan. So laying flat on your back. And we're gonna start at the top of our head. And just moving down through our head and into our neck. And into your shoulders. Just taking notice of how they feel today. How do they feel on the floor? Moving through your shoulders, down your arms. Notice how you have your arms today. Do you have your hands on your belly? Do you have your palms on the floor? Are you laying with your palms facing up? And then from your arms, moving back into your torso and down through your abdominal muscles and into your low back. How does your low back feel today? Does it feel tight? Do you feel stiff or sore? And moving from your low back and into your hips and down through your legs. And remember, if you have your legs bent or straight right now, so when you do your scan at the end of class today, you can have your legs in the same position. So now I'm going to ask everybody to bend your legs. So you're going to bend your knees. Feet will be standing flat on the floor. And we're going to start with some flatten and arches. We're going to do 3 of each, and then we're going to put them together in a nice fluid motion. So we're going to start with the flatten first. So inhale to get to an exhale. So inhale. And exhale, flattening your low back into the floor, bringing your pubic bone towards your ribs to your pubic bone, holding for a moment. And then slowly begin to release in your abdominals, slowly releasing the contraction in your belly, as slow and smooth as you can. And rest. And then repeating again, inhale first. And to exhale, flattening your low back into the floor, bringing your pubic bone towards your ribs towards your pubic bone. Hold for just a moment. And super slowly release. As slow and smooth as you can. And rest. And one more time. Inhale first. Exhale, pulling your pubic bone towards your ribs to your pubic bone as you flatten your low back into the floor. Hold for a moment. And super slowly release. Slow and smooth and controlled. And make sure to rest. And now we're going to go into some tilts. And for me, the difference between tilting and arching is when we arch, we're going to add in our shoulder blades and everything. Right now, just a tilt. So it's just a very small tilting of the pelvis as you roll your tailbone forward into the floor. Small little tilt, rolling your tailbone forward into the floor. Hold for just a moment and super slowly release. Super, super slow and smooth. And when you've finished releasing, make sure to rest. And this time we'll add in our breathing. So we're going to inhale and tilt at the same time. So go ahead and inhale, rolling your hips forward, rolling your tailbone down into the floor. Hold for just a moment. And exhale as you slowly and smoothly releasing your low back as your hips drift back down towards the floor. And when you've finished releasing, make sure to rest. And repeat one more time. Inhale and tilt, rolling your tailbone down into the floor. Hold for just a moment. And exhale as you super, super slow and smooth. Release the contraction. And make sure to rest. And now we're going to put those 2 movements together without the stopping and the resting in between. So we're going to start with the flatten again. So inhale to get to an exhale. Inhale. Exhale, rolling your pubic bone towards your ribs, bringing your ribs towards your pubic bone as you press your low back into the floor. Hold for just a moment. Exhale, super, super slowly. Begin to release, slowly releasing in your tummy muscles. And when you get to the very end of the release, you're going to switch into the tilt. Smoothly moving from the release of the abdominals now into the tilt, rolling your tailbone forward down into the floor. Holding for just a moment. And exhale, slowly releasing the tilt in your back now. Super, super slow. And when you finished releasing in your back, go straight into flatten, bringing your pubic bone to your ribs to your pubic bone as you flatten your low back into the floor. Hold for just a moment and super slowly release in your tummy muscles. Super slow, releasing in your tummy. And when you get to the very end of the release, going into tilt, rolling your tailbone forward down into the floor. Hold for just a moment and slowly release. Super, super slow. Releasing in your low back. And when you get to the neutral position, stop and rest. Good. So when you're finished that one without rushing, we're going to roll onto our side now. And I'd like everybody to lay so that your left side is on the floor. And you're going to bring your knees up in front of you, sort of like you're sitting on a chair. So your knees will be straight out in front, and then your feet will be straight down from your knees, laying on your side. So yes, at a 90-degree angle. Let me see. Yes, everybody's got it. So your right side should be up. So we're going to do this next exercise is called armpit to hip. So you can have your left arm resting under your head, and you're going to bring your right arm. You can bring it up over your ear if that's comfortable, or on your head. And if that's not comfortable, you can just rest it in front of you again. So the top part of this movement will be, you'll be thinking of drawing your armpit down towards your hip. And on the bottom part of the movement, you'll be thinking of bringing your hip towards your armpit. I'm going to teach you the bottom part first. So what you're going to do is lift your foot off of your bottom foot by rolling your top thigh inwards so that your knees stay together. And as you do that, you should notice that you feel your hip coming up towards your armpit. Hold that for just a moment, and then go ahead now and slowly lower your foot back down. And as you're slowly lowering that foot back down, you should notice that you are slowly releasing in your obliques, in your side, up in your hip, slowly releasing back down. And make sure to rest. And then we're going to add in the top part of the body. And remember that this foot doesn't need to go high. At the most, maybe 1.5 feet off the floor. Even just lifting it an inch is fine. Remember, the focus here is on the hip coming up towards the armpit. The upper body, you're going to lift your head, elbow, and armpit, thinking of drawing your armpit towards your hip. And now at the same time, rotate your top leg so that your foot gently comes up off of the bottom foot. So you'll feel this little squeeze in your side. Hold for just a minute. And now super slowly release. Try not to hold your head with your bottom hand if you can. If you feel the need to do that, maybe don't go so high on the next one. So if your neck is sore and you can't lift your head without more support, don't go as far. And rest. And then we're going to do that same one again. And let's add a breath into this one. We're going to inhale first and exhale into the contraction. So lifting your head, drawing your armpit to your hip, rolling your top leg, bringing your hip towards your armpit. Hold for just a moment. Then slowly begin to release. Um, Cease and Angela, try to go more onto your side if you can. If you're comfortable, go have your torso be more on your side. Yes. So as you lift, you're going to be thinking of bringing the armpit to the hip and the hip to the armpit. Yeah. Angela, you too, if you can. If it's too hard for you to lay on your shoulder, what you're doing will work. Just make sure you keep your knees together and very small lifting that leg. So let's all try that one again. Start with an inhale first. Exhale, gently lifting your head and chest, drawing your armpit towards your hip. Rotate your top leg so that your foot lifts just slightly off the bottom foot. Hold for a moment. Slowly begin to release. Slowly lowering your foot. Slowly lowering your head and elbow. Back down to the floor. And rest. And we're going to do one more on that side, and I would invite all of you to only do 50% into that contraction this time. So everybody make this one half the size you did the last one. Start with an inhale and exhale as you rotate your top leg, lifting your foot off of the other foot slightly. Small lift of the head, drawing your armpit towards your hip. Hold, and super slow and smooth. Super slow and smooth, lowering everything back down. Good, and make sure to rest. And then we're going to roll to the other side when you're ready and without rushing. So you'll roll so that your right side is down on the floor. Knees will be bent. Bottom arm underneath of you. And if it was uncomfortable for you to have that top arm up over your head, it's totally fine for it to lay in front of you as well. You may need it to help support your head is the only thing. All right, so we're going to start with an inhale to get to an exhale. So inhale first. And exhale, gently rotating your top thigh, lifting your foot slightly off the other foot, drawing your armpit towards your hip. Squeezing in your side, hold for just a moment. And super, super slowly letting your foot come back down. Slowly letting your head and your chest and your elbow slowly lowering back down to the floor, slow and smooth. And when you finish that one, make sure to rest. And just to double check on our position here, your knees should be straight out from your hips, and then your toes should be sticking out straight from your knees, as if you were sitting on a chair. But you're laying on your side. I guess I should clarify that. All right, same one again. Inhale to get to an exhale. Inhale first. And exhale, rotating the top leg, lifting your foot just slightly, lifting your head, drawing your armpit towards your hip. Hold for just a moment. And super slowly begin to release. Super, super slow and smooth. And make sure to rest. And one more time, inhale first. Exhale, rotating your top thigh, lifting your foot slightly off the other foot, lifting your head and elbow, drawing your armpit towards your hip. Squeeze for a moment. Hold, slow, slow release. Slow and smooth. And rest. And one more. Inhale first. And exhale, rotating the top thigh, lifting your foot slightly, drawing your armpit towards your hip as you lift your head. Hold for a moment and slowly lower. Super slow and smooth. And rest. Very nice, everybody. We're gonna roll onto our backs next. So when you're ready, without rushing, you'll roll onto your back. And we're gonna do wash rag next. So your knees will be bent, feet standing flat on the floor. And then your arms are gonna go straight out from your sides. Let's start with them palms down, please. So arms straight out beside you. Excellent. So I usually like to start with this one with the upper body first and then add in the lower body. So what I would like everyone to do is rotate your right arm so that your palm faces up. And then I want you to turn your head gently, looking towards the palm that is up. Now, as you rolled that hand and palm up, you should notice that your shoulder blade is now pressing into the floor a little bit, your right shoulder blade. So now slowly I want you to switch that. So you're slowly going to rotate the right palm down as you slowly begin to rotate your left palm up, and your head will slowly begin to drift to the left. Good. And then holding to that left side now. So you should have your right palm down, your left palm facing up, and your head should be looking to the left. Now you're very slowly going to let your knees begin to drift down to the right. Your feet will turn however they need to be comfortable, and only let your knees go as far as is comfortable. Your hips are going to come up off the floor, and you're going to let them do that. And when your knees have drifted as far as they can to the right, hold for a moment. And now we're going to switch everything. So now your knees are going to start to come up and drift to the left as your head slowly begins to turn to the right. Your left palm begins to turn down as your right palm begins to turn upwards. So right palm is turning upwards, head is turning to the right, knees are now drifting down to the left. Remember, please stay in your comfort zone. You can change how bent your knees are in this position too. Some of you may find you get a little more out of it if your knees aren't as bent. When you've reached that side as far as you can go comfortably, we're going to switch again. So slowly bringing your knees up and over towards the right now as you slowly rotate your arms, rotating your right palm down. Your head is slowly turning to the left as your left palm is slowly rolling upwards. Right palm rolling down, left palm rolling up, knees drifting to the right. And then slowly rotating back to the other direction. Slowly now bringing your knees up into the left as you slowly rotate your arms. Your left palm will begin to turn down as your right palm begins to turn up, and your head begins to roll to the right. And you're going to go ahead and do that one more time to each side at your own pace. And really thinking about noticing in your body if you have any of those glitches or bumps that we've talked about. Really paying attention to the sensations that are happening as you're moving slowly. And when you finish those 2 times at your own pace, bring your knees back to center so that I know that everybody is done and ready to move to the next piece. Good. And so next, we're going to be doing over the shoulder. So very slowly now, everyone will roll onto their belly. And when you are on your belly, I would like you to bend your right arm and have your left arm laying beside you. And you're going to be looking towards your right elbow. So your left cheek will be on the back of your hand as you're looking towards your elbow. The right elbow. So left arm laying beside, right arm bent. This one I like to start with an exhale as well. So we're going to inhale first. Inhale to get to an exhale. And exhale, you're going to lift your head, chest, and elbow, gently looking over your right shoulder as if your head is attached to your arm. And at the same time, lengthen and lift your left leg only a couple inches off the floor. Hold for just a moment. And then super slowly lowering back down to the floor. Gently lift your head, chest, and elbow, looking over your right shoulder, and lengthen your left leg and lift it just slightly off the floor, just a couple inches. Hold for a second and super slowly lower. Slowly lowering your leg, slowly lowering your head, chest, and elbow back down to the floor. Make sure to rest when you've finished. And then we're going to do one more. Inhale first to get to an exhale. Exhale, gently lift your head, chest, and elbow, looking gently over your right shoulder. Lengthen and lift the left leg. And you should notice that your right hip is pressing into the floor and your left shoulder is pressing into the floor a little bit to kind of give you that balance here. Now, super slowly release. Slowly lowering your leg and slowly lowering your head, your chest, and your elbow. And make sure to rest. And then we're going to switch to the other side. So everyone's now going to bring your left arm up beside you, right arm down beside, looking towards your left elbow. And we'll start with an inhale first. And exhale, gently lift your head, chest, and elbow, looking over your shoulder as you lengthen and lift your right leg. Hold for just a moment. And super slowly lowering. Super, super slow. Slow and smooth. And make sure to rest. So your right cheek right now should be resting on the back of your left hand. And you should be looking towards your left elbow. Okay, we're going to do that one again. Inhale first. And exhale, lifting your head, chest, and elbow. Think of turning in your torso just a tiny bit. Think of trying to bring that elbow just slightly to the ceiling. Hold and super slowly lower. Now remember, even though I say try to bring that elbow to the ceiling, you only want to do that as long as you can do it staying in your comfort zone. Somatics should never ever hurt or strain in any kind of a way. Good, and make sure to rest. And now when you're ready, without rushing, you're going to roll back onto your back. And now we're going to bring our hands up behind your head or fingertips behind your ears. And we're going to do our full arch and curl this time. So wherever it's comfortable for you to have your arms, and if you have shoulder problems and it's hard for you to get your elbows up beside you, you can put a pillow underneath of each elbow if you need to. And we're going to start with the inhale and arch. So we're going to inhale and arch, gently tilting your hips forward as you roll your tailbone down into the floor. Press your shoulder blades into the floor. Think of drawing them down along the floor towards your tailbone. And gently tilt your head back. Hold for just a moment and super slowly begin to release. Super slow and smooth, releasing the contraction in your back. Slowly releasing the contraction in your neck. And once you've finished releasing those contractions, going into flatten as you bring your pubic bone to your ribs and your ribs to your pubic bone, flattening your low back into the floor. Bring your elbows together and gently lift your head and chest into a soft curled position. Hold for just a second and super slowly, slowly lowering your head, slow and smooth as you can, back down to the floor. And once your head is gently resting on the floor, slowly open your elbows as slow and smooth as you can. And when you finish this one, make sure to rest. And as we start the next one, I invite you to challenge yourself to do it smaller and slower and smoother. Here we go. Inhale and arch, gently tilting your hips forward as you roll your tailbone into the floor, gently pressing your shoulder blades down into the floor, drawing them towards your tailbone, and tilt your head back. Softly let your jaw open. Hold for just a moment. Exhale as you slowly, slowly begin to release the contraction in the back of your neck, releasing in your back and your shoulders, as slow and smooth as you can. And when you've finished releasing everything in your back, going into flatten, bringing your pubic bone to your ribs to your pubic bone, bring your elbows together and gently lift your head and chest into a soft curl position. Hold for a second and then super, super slowly lowering your head back down to the floor. And once your head is resting comfortably on the floor, slow and smooth, opening those elbows. Really pay attention as those elbows are coming down to the floor. Are you able to do it slow and smooth the whole way? Don't give up in the last tiny little bit of the journey. Make sure you follow it all the way to the end. And make sure to rest. And we're going to do one more. Inhale, gently tilting your hips forward as you roll your tailbone down into the floor. Draw your shoulder blades down towards your tailbone, tilting your head back and letting your jaw open softly. Hold for a moment. Exhale as you slowly begin to release the contraction in your neck, slowly releasing in your shoulders and your back. And when you're at the end, going into flatten, bringing your pubic bone to your ribs to your pubic bone. Bring your elbows together and gently lift your head and chest into a soft curl position. Hold and then super slowly lowering, really paying attention to your abdominals as you're lowering your head, slow and smooth. Once your head is touching the floor, slowly begin to let your elbows open. As slow and smooth as you can, with control. And once your elbows are resting comfortably on the floor, remind yourself to rest. And without rushing, you're going to go back into the same body scan position that you had when we started today. So if you had your knees bent, bend your knees again. If you had your legs laying flat, go back to laying your legs flat. And we're going to start at the top of our heads, just taking notice of how your head feels on the floor. Does it feel the same or different from when we started? Moving from your head into your neck and shoulders. Do your shoulder blades feel the same as when we started class? Do they feel different? Do they feel lighter? And moving through your shoulders and down in your arms. Are you holding your arms the same way that you were when we did our first body scan? Do they feel different? And moving from your arms back into your torso. Moving down your torso into your low back. Does your low back feel warmer, lighter, closer to the floor? Moving from your back and into your hips. and through your hips and into your legs, all the way down to your feet. And when you're ready, without rushing, you will roll to your side and come up to a sitting position. And if anybody has any questions, take your time.